Hello, 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 and welcome to a new episode of the Sovereign Society podcast. I'm actually really excited. I've been calling in so many of my Italian women in my life, and I have another one here. And I've got the queen herself, Satya Scainetti. And I'm really excited about this because I have a really incredible story how I first found this woman. So I remember like years ago, I saw her on Marie TV, on Marie Forleo's interview. And then that year, my nonna died. And my mentor gave me the Ganesha necklace from
Oh,
Satya Jewelry to help me overcome the obstacles of navigating through my nonna's transition. And so this is a really huge thing for me because it's so much of my healing. And I just, that this piece of jewelry that I adorned forever helped me overcome some of the deepest challenges of my life. So it's such an honor to have you here on this podcast and to talk with you and to just share the medicine that's going to be coming through in this conversation.
cool. Yeah, I love the story. Thank you. I hear them and I'm like, wow, awesome. It's
You
amazing
never
how
you never know where it was going to
you never
lead.
know. I'm sorry, I'm jumping in, but this whole idea of medicine and I hope I'm not overstepping. I'm going to just jump
No,
in.
please. This is a
Is the
full
power?
full open.
Yeah. So I started this company 18 years ago next month. And
Wow.
18 is such a powerful number. But it was first the intention. I was doing a lot of Reiki and a lot of healing. And I was going to start learning how to charge money for this gift because I had a hard time. I thought I just had to heal whoever came to me. And it was a long time ago. Reiki was not a thing in 20
Right.
years ago, you know? And I ended up doing my first teacher training down in Shivananda in the Bahamas. And dreams and tons of downloading of just all this information. And the last day, I had a dream. They asked if anybody wanted a spiritual name. I was like, oh boy, don't know if I have a job when I get back. Is it included? And they're like, yeah, it's included. So I had the name Satya behind my certificate. And it's still in my office here. Um, and that night I had a dream that I was going to design jewelry of all truths and donate money to children around the world. And I thought for a moment, I was like, God, I had this intention of just healing one person at a time with your beautiful energy. Instead, God said, no freaking way. We are going to heal the masses. We're going to create a
Yes.
jewelry company. It's going to have healing gemstones. It's going to have cool symbols that remind people that they can get through anything. And 18 years later, so hearing your story reminded me that this whole idea of medicine and healing, that it started out with that intention and that I get to do that every day with my jewelry company. And then we have our give back. Anyway, it's so magical when you tune into all that good
I
stuff.
love it.
We're so powerful. We all are so
Yes.
powerful.
Well, I want to dive in because I know we'll be talking a lot about that. And you just gave like a little sneak peek about the story as to how the company started. But I want to go even further. And because before that, you were doing a lot of social work. And for me, helping people build their brands and their business, the big thing that I think is really important for us is to do our own inner healing first and to understand the breadcrumbs as to what professions or passions we had in the past and how it leads us to our big purpose. So I would love to hear, what was the drive for you to start with social work and then evolve into creating a jewelry company that's a philanthropic company and giving back?
Yeah. Yeah, I went to school. I thought my intention was to save the children of the world and make a big impact in the world. And I've always said the children are going to make the change that's needed. We're kind of, a lot of the older people running the country right now, for instance, are just not going to do what we need to get done. So early on in my career, I was like, wow, I'm just not. I got caught up in a couple of bigger organizations and the bureaucracies and the amount of paperwork that I had to go through to actually sit in front of a child or a young person trying to make a change in their lives. It was just so few and far between. And so I was going to take a hiatus. I had a friend of mine offered me a job in this jewelry company. And I was like, oh my God, but what about my social work? I'm supposed to do all this work. Anyway, I took the job. And after a few months, I was like, I love it. It was in a jewelry company. And my intention was to go back, but I was having so much fun in the jewelry world, and it was kind of ignited something that I had done in many, many lifetimes, I've been told. And it makes so much sense because I've never gone to school for it. I turn everything I see into jewelry. I've always done it. So I woke up that goddess that was in another lifetime or two. But the idea of, we get stuck on, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. And taking that little jump allowed me to tap into something that I was really enjoying in a big way. So 9/11 happened in front of my eyes, and I lived down in the West Village, and I was working in it for another woman at the time, and she was not the night, it was a little challenging. And I was like, what am I doing? It woke me up. I was like, what am I doing? Wait a minute. What happened to all the plans of making an impact in the world? And that's when I decided I was going to go do my training, because I started doing healing work, and I was studying crystals, and I was getting into all this cool metaphysical stuff that was not really talked about. Now it's very trendy.
Right.
But back in the day, it was like, whoa, what are you
Early
talking
adopter over here.
Yeah. Well, I'm a little older than most, but I would like to say I have a little wisdom behind me, but still making mistakes every day.
Thank you for saying you're human.
Yeah. Oh, very humble. Thank you. I love my perfect imperfections. You should all. So I decided to do this training down in the Bahamas, and I was also doing a lot. I started doing a lot of yoga. I was a Reiki master. I took all my trainings and started feeling all this energy in my hands and downloading all sorts of things while I laid my hands on people's nosebleeds, sneezing attacks. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'm supposed to start doing this. And so I went, but I was getting a lot of reads while I had my hands on people about grounding, meditation, and yoga. So I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this for a living, I better learn a little more about the practice of yoga and meditation. So that was my plan when I jumped to the Bahamas for that month. And in the beginning of the podcast, like I said, the last day I was given the name Satya, which means truth. And that night I had a dream that I was going to design jewelry of all truths and donate money to children around the world. But it wasn't just like a dream. It was like, I don't know if you've ever had these. Like when I get a dream, it's like, boom.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Who was in the room? Who was that? What's going on?
Oh, yeah.
And like,
especially when it's something so powerful that's really that guiding. It has to be that bright. So it's not like this like illusion. It's an awakening in that sense, and a remembering as to why you actually came here.
Yeah. So 30 days, I was super charged up with lots of yoga. The fearless goddess came out of me. And I literally went back home, called my best friend at the time, and I said, quit your job. We got this. I got an idea. I have a name. And within a week, I was incorporated. And, because the intention, I believe, was so pure. It wasn't about making money.
Yeah.
It was about doing something I loved, giving back to the world. And, I don't know. There's an entrepreneur inside me as well that was always there. My dad was an entrepreneur. All my siblings are not entrepreneurs. We all have our own companies. So it's a little bit in my DNA.
It's a lot of that work ethic. I know, like I was raised by my grandparents who immigrated from Italy, and they owned businesses, and I've always been in that entrepreneurial energy too. And to me, the whole spirit of that is we came here for a purpose. Yes. And there's no room to play small. And sometimes it can be unconventional, or you can think outside the box, but there is no box. We create that box. And there's something like a story, like what I shared with you. You never know what's going to be coming through, but you have to really trust that inner guidance and to follow the things that are passionate, that you're passionate about, that light you up, even if that's scary.
Yeah. And it's like you have to fight that little internal dialogue we all have of like, it's not time. I need this to be this way first, blah, 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 blah. And that stops us. But I mean, women, as being a Kundalini yogi, we're as intuitive as they come.
Yes.
I think it's getting to that place where you can really trust that voice.
Yes.
And move forward.
Well, I think that's why Kundalini Yoga is also getting such a rise right now, is because there's no more room for playing small.
Exactly.
We need to work through the blocks. I mean, I say this in so many episodes and all throughout my social media. My favorite thing about Kundalini Yoga is the lower triangle. and working through those lower three chakras that represent our physical reality so that we can live from that heart space. And as we're talking about like two entrepreneurs here, this is a time for conscious business, but you can't fully be present in your conscious business if you're still allowing those stories from the past, those limiting beliefs, the scarcity, all of that running the show.
Yeah.
And allowing the Kundalini energy to rise up, to clear the blocks, to transmute and alchemize, to create that strong sacred vessel within. That's where we create this beautiful container to hold space, to be creative, to be imaginative, to help people. How has Kundalini Yoga made an impact in your life?
Oh my God. Well, I don't know if you know Gurmukh.
Of course.
Yeah, she's one of my best friends. I talk to her every day.
I love that.
Yeah, she's the coolest friend in town.
And people who don't know, she's one of the massive leaders for women during pregnancy and Kundalini Yoga, and she's like that midwife in the Kundalini world to help women who are pregnant.
And bring conscious beings. And her daughter's pregnant right now. We just hosted a big baby shower.
Oh, so fun!
So she's now actually teaching in Miami right now. She's doing a prenatal teacher training, which I've done, and she's a doll. But why did I bring her up? Wait,
Kundalini, how it's changed her life. Yes.
Yeah, you know, I was introduced to it like later on. Like I've been doing. I guess I've known her for 13 years. I guess it's a long time, but. I was at my practice. I still have a very strong practice. And I was sitting one morning, I said, okay, what's next? And I had a very strong hatha, my pranayams, I did my hatha yoga. And I'm like, there's something else waiting. And it's interesting. I went to, you ask and it shows up. You just got to be open to how it's going to show up.
Totally.
And I went to this yoga journal conference back then when it was all really a big thing. Yoga journal was huge. And these were all the beginners of yoga when it started. And Gurmukh was there, and all the Sharon Gannons, and like the big yogis and my friend was like, "Oh, you want to try this Kundalini class?" And I was like, I don't know. Yeah, let me give it a shot. And literally, I went into her class, and I was having a moment in life. I think I was going through another breakup or some like traumatic drama we go through, and it was like she was talking to me. And we were doing a downward dog for 32 minutes, walking around in a downward dog. And there was 100 people in the room. And I'm like, what the heck? But something shifted. And I was like, wow. Anyway, that was the beginning. And I haven't stopped since. And I love the dance between the two, though. I like the grounding of hatha. And then the Kundalini really gets clear.
I find myself doing a lot more hatha like in the winter months, and a lot of more of the internal. I mean, I do Kundalini every day as well. I'm a teacher and host 40-day experiences and all the things, but we have to still have that balance, because I think the biggest thing that I've been witnessing in the spiritual community right now is so many people are so vata. They're so up here, like their heads in the clouds, but they're not grounded to what's actually going on. And so for me this year, I've been hearing the call. If I'm here to be a spiritual leader, I need to start speaking up and talking to people running politically. So I'm having like Congress candidates coming through, congressional candidates and things like that, because if I'm going to be a leader, I can't just lead in my small little bubble of like the spiritual community. It's actually a poison. If we just contain it, then we're actually misusing our purpose and our direction of why we chose to be spiritual leaders. It's not about the fame. It's not about the look or, the endorsements. It's more so about you came here to implement real change.
Wow. It's great. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that.
So that's something that I think is, and I really feel is a massive call, 2020 crystal vision, and the way that I think about it a lot, we just finished a 7-year cycle post 2012. So we all have a whole new consciousness, and people who've been doing the journey since 2012 or before, we have a lot to teach and to bring that wisdom to people who are either just starting their spiritual path or who are completely disconnected from their spiritual truth.
Gosh, I so believe that. We have a little momentum. And I've been feeling the same way. 2020 is like, okay, There's no time to be sitting and waiting for somebody else to fix things.
Mm-hmm.
We have the tools. I've been loving just speaking out on the things that I've been so inspired to do in my life, and just so blessed, that I've had the opportunities. And I want to share my story, because it's like, back then I was the first yoga inspired jewelry brand. It was very different. It was off the charts. Who would use yoga inspired? It was even a little weird.
Yeah.
But, I think when your intention is pure, for those of you who are looking to start a business or trying to find how you can impact the world, is have that side of it with the pure intention. Like the start Satya Jewelry was to give back. When you start with that purity and that intention, I think the universe really opens up the doors. I think that the opportunities come in, and to tap onto that is like bringing that fearlessness, that like I'm really scared to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and put my first foot forward, and watch what happens. I mean, again, we don't have time to sit back, but step out of that little comfort zone right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm doing the same to myself, please. I'm like, it's hard for all of us. Sometimes we get we're comfortable in where we're at. And,
and then especially when you've been so conditioned with the same routine, and routines are great, but sometimes you have to take that leap. And that's the only way you're going to excel to the next level. How do you expect to up level if you're not taking that step?
Right. Yeah.
If you're not taking that step. And so I love that you've created the Satya Foundation, and your jewelry. You have specific pieces of jewelry that really help different organizations, your own foundation, and being able to do a piece like that. So this is a huge part of where the conscious business movement is going. It's like more than just filling our own pockets. How can we give to those who need it? And there's a deeper richness to that than just like the number in our bank account. Like there's in the heart, like being able to give to those who, the fact that you have a roof over your head or that you have running water. Majority of the population of the world doesn't even have those luxuries that we oftentimes forget about.
Yeah. Yeah. I go to India every year. There's a couple of schools that I've been able to help out over the years. And this year we're going to Rishikesh. There's a huge festival there. Gurmukh teaches and all the great people from around the globe. And I get to sit and teach some children how to make jewelry. And
I love that.
Yeah, and get to see them and like the gratitude. Like, there's no expectation. It's just pure, like, thank you, and their intention to give back if they have these opportunities in front of them.
So when did you start the foundation?
So as soon as I started teaching up in the Bronx.
That's where my dad's from.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
cool.
My dad's from Riverdale.
Yeah, Bronx Collaborative High School. I had a bunch of little 13-year-old kids come into this after-school class, and I ended up taking them up to Shivananda Ashram in the Berkshires, and it was really interesting. They had never left the city, and that was my first touch of okay, let's give back. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I had the 501c. That was 2 years later. So because it's for a tax purpose, it was you had to race at the end of the year. Where am I going to put this money? And then I started teaming up with a lot of either celebrities or organizations, and other people that wanted to just design a little piece. Like Patricia Arquette, I did something for Haiti. Mm-hmm. And we ended up building 25 little homes and a school.
That's awesome.
With one necklace. I was like, this is awesome. So it was really exciting. It's changing slightly. There's a lot of people in this space. Mm-hmm. And, I feel like I'm always having to kind of reinvent, but keep the foundation of the DNA of what Satya is.
Mm-hmm. The ethos alive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But, there's a lot of people, we're giving this, we're giving that. I've always tried to be as generous as possible. I mean, we give quite a bit of the profit and it's not all of it to a lot of the people we work with. But I think the other part is the awareness. I love speaking about what we're doing and what the foundations that we're working with are doing in the world, like educating people here in the West of just the needs of people around the globe and how privileged we are. And not to say there's not poverty and situations here in the United States, but we who get to sit and listen to podcasts with an iPhone, usually have the ability to, $5 goes a long way. Sometimes I'm like, even just an act of loving kindness right now, to share a smile with somebody every day.
It's restoring humanity with the basic fundamental things of what it means to be human. And I think sometimes we forget that. We think it has to be this huge, like extravagant piece of action, but it's that human interaction, that human connection is what we crave most, because that's the opposite of addiction, is connection.
Yeah. Right.
And so we need to remember to connect with one another and share stories. I think so much of the storyteller kind of traditions are kind of coming back in an essence. I think that's been a part of like the podcast world, has been being able to share stories again, where, someone can be really inspired by listening to this to create a jewelry company or to start a foundation, or you never know. But I think it's really important for that vulnerability and that truth and that humanness that social media kind of dulls out.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
And we need to reinstill that and really be like, okay, this is actually why we came here during this wild time in human history.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's some wild times right now. So having done this foundation for years, what have you seen in these children's lives that have been impacted and really touched by the medicine and the work of your foundation and the intention that you had from that nice little dream in the Bahamas?
We've raised over $1 million, probably way over that. But I do get to connect with a lot of the children. And, the interesting part was some of the first children that we've been able to help at this beautiful orphanage called Ramana's Garden in India. I think the first girl went to med school. A lot of them end up going to school for social work. We have one of the main boys right now is going to law school. And and I always ask them, so what's your plan, after school? And I'm going to go back and help my brothers and sisters. I'm going to go back and help, Lama Sir of Manjushri Orphanage or Prabha of Ramana's Garden. I'm going to go back and help my mother and father. Because, these people who have decided that I'm going to help these children, they've really impacted their lives. And if I can support them in their mission, which is really what I get to do, I'm not there on the ground in India every day, helping, these children get back to a safe place. So many of the children come to Ramana's Garden. They've watched some horrific things. Their families driven over by cars in India. Parents just leaving them in the trains. I mean,
the PTSD and trauma is real.
Oh, it's so big. And even watching, like each year I get to go back and see these kids make these major leaps and bounds in just recovery.
Incredible.
And, I've got energy going right through my arms when I say that, because at the end of the day, it's human connection. It's like, it's not about how much money's in the bank. It's not about how many likes I got on a post. It's how many people did you maybe make feel a little happier in the world? And it doesn't have to be money. I really like the idea of just like that 40 days of loving kindness, acts of loving kindness. And, each day do something nice, whether it's a smile or a compliment or.
Because it creates a ripple effect. And if we're all connected in this space, that's how we start to heal. That's how we start to heal this planet and humanity at large.
Yeah. If we could all do that collectively, could you imagine every day say something kind to someone who really needs it?
Yes. And that's why I have an issue with people in the spiritual community that only hang out with people that are in the spiritual community and not with the normal other people on the street, because this is where the trickle effect works. Yes, we're creating this like nucleus inside our own communities, but how do we be more inclusive and help someone you may not have like known to reach out to? Like I live in Joshua Tree, and there's a lot of people with PTSD and trauma. And when I go to the dog park, I can talk to vets and have conversation with like everyday folk, you know, that maybe feel like they've never been heard before, or maybe feel like they've never been seen before. And to be able to hold that space and have the conversation, that's the real work.
Yeah, totally. I live in New York City. I have opportunities every day to the point where sometimes you want to like, there's some scariness to it, right?
Of course.
But I've been trying to do the same thing, like just a little more.
You're not trying, you're doing it.
Yeah, but just like eye contact. Hi, how are you? Instead of just giving $1 or giving a $5 bill or. But just like that human connection beyond just here, let me throw you something so I feel better about myself today.
Right.
You know?
Right.
It's so needed in the world.
Because you never know having those interactions, what the medicine is for you that you'll get too. There's something you'll learn about yourself through those interactions, through those connections. Like for me, like any socks, like pair of socks that I have that are maybe a little more stretched out, I leave them in my car. And when I see a houseless person on the street, socks are like the number one thing that they need. Like they don't wear socks. You know what I mean? And so I was like, hey, do you want a pair of socks? I have like 6 or 7 pairs of socks in my car right now that like, if I'm at an intersection or getting off the freeway or whatever, and I see someone like, do you need a pair of socks? I'm like, oh my gosh, you have no idea how much, but something so simple as that. And I think this is how we're going to heal the planet with the current state of the world and with this election year. And there's a lot of people scared. There's a lot of people like on pins and needles of like, oh my God, are we going to be in 4 years of this mess again? Or, oh my gosh, is this the time where things change? But we have to get involved in the small pieces that can go back to that heart.
I really love that too. It's like, you know, a lot of people sitting on their couches, watching the news, getting all freaked out. Like, what do I do? How do I do it? And I think, you know, if anybody out there is listening and they're in this place of fear, is, you know, go to your local church or go to your local UNICEF and say, hey, can I volunteer one day? And to just see how your own outlook would feel after a day of service, or, you know, getting up off that couch and just starting to do one little act that would move the bar. If we could all just, you know,
like go clean up the oceans for a day, get like a group of friends and clean the oceans, do something that will make you feel good, because that's going to give you momentum to keep going.
Totally. You'll get all these, oh, this felt good. And then you want to do more and then you want to do more.
Yes.
I'm all about that. Oh my God, it's so important. And we get so busy in our own lives. Like I'm busy. I got 2 kids I'm raising. I got a big company I'm running. And
how do you manage all of that and still take care of yourself? That's something that I think a lot of people.
Tomorrow's my birthday.
Woo! Happy birthday!
So I'm a Capricorn.
Capricorn.
So this morning I took the morning off. I came in to do the podcast.
Oh my gosh! Thank you so much.
They just had birthday cake for me, so I feel happy.
Aww.
But you know, what I do is I really try and make sure I get my time in. And, you know, and I also surround myself with a lot of help. And not even, you know, it takes a village. And I really want to stress that for all the women who are stepping up right now and juggling it all. You know, we can do it, but you do need your support system. And, you know, even if it's your community of yoga or meditation practice, to be able to be part of some kind of community, gather with friends, you know, at least once a month. I've been doing these great gatherings for quite a few years, and Gurmukh and I host them together usually. And it's like sit with a bunch of women. I'm sorry, men can come, but mostly women, and just sit and talk about what's really hard for you, but talk about what your plans are, and just support each other in that space. And, you know, you can go around the room. You host next month. I'll host this month. But if we collectively all start doing these gatherings, we're going to get stronger. We're going to feel more powerful. I think it's really important. That's what I do. I connect. My
Yeah,
team,
and to me, I think that's another reason why we've seen what we have, because it was the wake up for us to go back to basics of how it was the village and it was the gathering spaces. And I know for me, like I was raised by my family, it was my dad's one of eight. So I come from a very, very large Italian Irish Catholic family.
me
But we
too. Yeah, I just got that's so funny.
but you understand, it's so much of the ethos of like it takes a village, and it takes a lot of us. And my family, both sides of my family, multiple aunts and uncles own restaurants. That was our thing, and that's one of the
Oh,
hardest industries
yeah.
there is. But it was like
Long hours. Ooh.
long hours, 14, 15 hours every day. And that's what I grew up. That was like the strong worth ethic. But I also learned from my mom about the importance of the self-care and learning to take care of yourself and filling up your cup, especially when you're in service, and being able to rely on family members or friends that are the soul family or things like that. I think the time of the Aquarian age, where we're understanding that it's more about collaboration and cooperation instead of competition, it's time for us to really look at our inner circle, or continue to grow our inner circle, focus on each other's gifts, be aware of where our weaknesses or places and areas that we still need a little TLC and work on, and to help support and learn from one another in that space. And I think that's what's really being revived right now as well. Like,
Yeah,
like
I
in
agree.
your company, you're working with people creating specific pieces and with
Hmm.
these collaborative efforts, because the ethos and the big message behind it is let's come together and to give back in a way bigger than we could ever imagine.
Yeah, by ourselves. Yeah, I love the collaboration part of my business is where I'm beyond stoked up about. It's kind of what I've started in the beginning, and I've been trying to amp that up in a bigger way. But yeah, we can't do it alone. There's no way. The other part of that, how else do I manage it all? And I know you can relate to this, is I have a practice.
Mm-hmm.
And, it used to be a good hour and a half before my kids were born. But every day I roll my mat out, I do my breath work, and I light a candle. If nothing else, I light that candle and I bring in all the angels, and I bow down to whatever is in front of me, and ask for the support and help. And some of those short but sweet, powerful rituals can really go a long way for me.
It's devotion.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
moments of
devotion.
devotion, and that we really need to remember, like we're here on mission, and we had to return back to within ourselves so that we can, the inner creates the outer. And so there can be a lot of the craziness outside, but especially running a huge corporation, having a family, all these things, coming back home to you is the most critical part if you really want to serve
Yeah.
wholeheartedly.
Yes.
Because otherwise that's where like the greed or the manipulation or these other things come, when we're fragmented
Yeah.
of that energy,
Or
and we're not
looking, what am I getting back for this? Like,
exactly.
and it's, I mean, you're getting that complete joy, but if you have a different intention, it could feel depleting instead of uplifting.
Yes. So with that, I want to talk about, how do you feel, you have this thriving business and these networks and the collaborations and having raising twin boys, and how do you feel, what do you see as the importance of really doing the deep inner child healing work if you want to really have that thriving and successful business in life?
I've done a lot of work, and I'm a little older than, I'm older, and I don't think I'd have what I have right now if I didn't do that work first.
Mm-hmm.
And 20s are really tough.
Mm-hmm.
30s, even a little tougher. 40s was the best. You start, if you do the work in your 30s and 20s. I found when I turned 40, I started this company, and I was like fearless. I didn't care what anybody thought about me anymore. I really loved myself. And then the right man comes in, and then the right, like if you're whole, everything else comes into place. I really believe that. And, I didn't have the easy childhood, and, I have the story after story after story. And every one of those stories has made me who I am today. Would I have loved to skip some of them? Yeah, but I wouldn't be as awesome as I am today.
Yes. Yes.
So, and confident, like I've
Mm-hmm.
already seen, I'm not afraid, like that, that fearlessness. I'm not of losing something. I've had loss in my life. So I've survived it. Okay, I can handle that. Do I want to lose
Mm-hmm.
something? No, or anybody. But, you go through enough, and you have a practice and you have faith, which my faith can move mountains, because I have done the work.
Yes.
It just gives you that stability you need to move through life. So
I think because I've had a lot of work to do too. In 2012, got struck by lightning, had like
mm,
severe trauma, PTSD, a lot of like childhood trauma stuff. But I think people who've had really challenging journeys, they have a very, very strong container to do big work.
totally. And you
And
have to have those.
it's
If you
it's
don't have a challenge,
empathy.
yeah,
Yes. It's the
yeah,
empathy and the compassion.
totally. If everything gets spoon fed to you, how are you going to know good from bad? And
Yes.
if something does fall on you, how will you handle it? Like, where are you going to go to? I think having a practice is beyond important, especially right now, some kind of practice. Oh, do you have a puppy?
I do. My dog is on patrol right now. He
I
knows, like,
love
he's
dogs.
protecting me. But
Nice.
yeah, and the practice part is critical, like your inner circle, the people that see you, where you're supporting each other and there isn't that competition and we all
Mhm.
want to see each other succeed is critical. And
Totally.
having these times where we can continue to grow and heal together is, to me, a non-negotiable in today. So I mean, for me, I feel like this decade the wellness industry is going to go like even bigger than ever before. And like I said, I really do believe business is evolving into conscious business where people want to support people that are giving back to foundations, people that are being conscious of like gemstones of are they being ethically sourced,
Yes.
all these other
Materials.
pieces.
Hmm.
Yes. So what are you seeing as an entrepreneur and a woman who has a company in the wellness industry about this decade coming up?
Well, it's interesting because, and thanks for saying I'm in the wellness space. I don't want to just be a jewelry brand. I feel
No,
like
not
I'm
at
so much
all.
more, because I've been from the beginning, I've always talked about the power of gemstones and nature, and we are drawn to nature. And I think we need to trust that more. But even from us, we're doing a lot of shifts in our packaging. I'm trying, like the jewelry business is not very ethical. I mean, there's plastic bags, and
Hmm.
I'm trying to
Especially when
pull
things are
back.
made in like China and stuff, they have to put
Oh,
everything in plastic
yeah.
overseas.
I don't do anything in China. Just so
Yes.
you know, I do everything in Thailand where the Buddhists hang out, in India,
Yes.
where there's a lot of amazing mantras permeating each piece of jewelry. Um, but yeah, I'm standing very strong. It's so tempting to go to China because everything's half the price. So I'm really, we're challenged with margins. I don't know if you have, like, from a business standpoint, because the materials have gotten more expensive. How to package it's gotten more expensive. Everything is more.
Hmm.
And meeting after meeting just in the last 2 weeks to make sure that we're making a lot of shifts and changes. We're not offering a box every time. If you want a box, you can buy the box.
Hmm.
It's
I have a
worth it.
box. I got lucky.
Oh, you did. We just implemented that, but little things so other people can also be conscious. How many satya boxes can you have?
Totally.
After a while, like, we don't need all that, and just we're pulling back a lot on the plastic. I'm doing all recycled plastics. We're going to have a whole new little concept of how you'll get satya jewelry come August, which I'm really excited about. But yeah, a lot of little minor shifts, but they're big collectively.
Yes.
Um, and then just how we speak to the brand, really staying true to the integrity of the product. Not I will not use plastics, and we have genuine stones, and I work with amazing factories that are top of the chain, the food chain when it comes to ethically sourced, ethically all the people who
Well,
work
you can
there.
feel that energy.
Yeah, I
And we're
know. I know.
becoming more
Yeah,
sensitive to these things.
totally. There's a lot of jewelry out there,
Hmm.
and some of it is very beautiful. And I just say to people, just be careful. Don't put that
Hmm.
on your heart center. Make
Hmm.
sure it is real, because this stuff lays on your skin and it permeates.
And your
And
skin's your largest organ.
yeah. So make sure you've got some, let's do a little research is all I say.
Yeah. So,
But yeah,
so how do you
that's a
see that?
wisdom.
But how do you see that trickling in terms of like more like the ethics and going on? Like these are new standards and non-negotiables too that are only going to
Yeah.
continue to evolve.
And the good thing is, I have always used genuine stones. I've always used sterling silver. I've always used beautiful 18 karat gold. The challenge is the prices. Things have
Hmm.
gotten expensive. So my challenge is just making sure I can still deliver the product at a price that people will still buy, even though China has something not as
Hmm.
beautiful. Looks okay for a minute, but will
It
turn,
can tarnish and
yeah, it looks
fade and
green after a
mhm.
few times wearing it. So, we're doing a lot of storytelling. Like, I really want to amp up a lot more storytelling about each piece, because each piece that we design there's such a powerful intention. Like, we don't just shoot out jewelry.
Right.
Like, everything is around a story. Like, what is this going to represent? And make sure we have price points within, each one of those categories that can, it's available for everyone.
Hmm.
Um,
So what's
yeah, so
inspiring you right now?
ooh, we got so many beautiful things coming in. Um, I'm going to be launching back an 18 karat gold line, because I think that idea people are wanting these permanent pieces of mine. And we do a warranty, which is all fine. But right now, I've been designing so many things about the planets, because I keep saying nothing makes sense down here. So we're all looking up.
Yeah, astrology.
And,
Astrology is the language of the future.
oh,
And
well, I'm a big astrologer lover, and I've been guided for years and years with this business on through my
amazing.
astrologers. So, I, we're everything's already stamped, and we definitely have the ability to change and maneuver things. But the charts are there. If you can use the planets to propel yourself forward with your truth, whatever your destiny is, then you got to use it now.
That's the work I do with my branding. That's how I help people
You do.
brand and
Oh,
set up
okay.
with their business strategy. It's, hey, let's work with the cosmos. And I just
You
believe
know,
astrology is the language of the future. And if we're all impacted by the energy of the planets, each day is ruled by a different planetary energy.
yeah.
Each, like, to me, like the January February cycle doesn't make sense. I'm now like a Capricorn, Aquarius. Like, that's the way that I see calendars now. I don't
Yeah.
see it
Oh,
based
so
off
cool.
of January 1st, because each energy is ruled by different elements and all
Mhm.
these different mutable, fixed cardinal signs. And you can really be conscious in that and understand how it trickles and affects. So I think there's
And
going to be
yeah.
a lot more of that kind of energy
Oh
being
my, totally.
coming
I do.
through.
Yeah. I have collaborations with a lot of astrologers. A lot of my people are drawn to, yeah, astrology is the way. We have therapists who usually medicate you if you can't get fixed right away. And I feel astrologers can kind of give you the very clear map
Hmm.
of what you have in front of you.
Hmm.
And then you've got to get the courage and the fearlessness to really trust that. Um,
Yes. And I think a lot
yeah,
after this Saturn Pluto conjunction went through, I think that was a huge gateway that opened up for a lot of people of their truth and coming through. We had like the portals of the eclipses, we had this Saturn Pluto conjunction. And now, I don't know, a lot of people I've talked about it that have gone on that are on the other side of it now, we all are. They all feel like they've been rebirthed and reborn.
totally. I feel it big time. That is definitely what's been happening these last couple of weeks, last
Yeah,
week
it's
even,
going to be, I mean, I think this year is going to be so powerful. And I think truth is really going to reign strong and really be the guiding force, because it's what we all crave. Like in Kundalini Yoga, Satnam, truth is your identity.
Yeah.
And that's who we are at the core. It's the conditioning and the fears and the doubts and the matrix belief systems that steer us away from that truth.
Yeah. Well, Yogi Bhajan said that the age of Aquarius, like everything's going to surface. Like there's nothing, nobody's going to get away with anything anymore. And like, I heard that before 2012, and I'm like, now you're watching it happen. I'm like, oh my God, everybody's getting caught.
I feel like I got like my bowl of popcorn, just like watching it all go. And he also said a third of the world would wake up, a third would die, and a third would go mad.
Yeah. And we're kind of watching that too. That would bring the population down to the amount that the planet can actually sustain, which is also very interesting. 3.5 billion people. It's all these new, I mean, it's
and numerology, you can't ignore it. I mean, I think that's been the biggest thing that Kundalini, that like the lower triangle, and just really understanding the ethos of how things are flowing in this new time, and especially the Aquarian age. It's such a rebellious time. And I think the biggest thing is breaking free from the conditioning and stepping into that space of sovereignty. So I would love to hear what does sovereignty mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the important thing is not to get caught up with all the conversations and the fear that's out in the world, and really stay true to myself. It's funny. I was in LA with Gurmukh actually over the first few days of the year. And that's when that bomb was shot down and that person was killed. and my son texted me and said, Mom, I'm really scared about World War III. And I wasn't watching, I didn't have the TV, I was in my own little girly world of bliss. And I was like, whoa. And coming home to that was hard. Because it's like, whoa, I got thrown off my path, because I feel 2020 is going to be magical. If we stay focused and we stay on our paths, we can move the mountains needed. But stuff like that can really throw you off your path. Right. So I went down there for a minute. I was like, woo, this is really messed up. What happened to my mojo? And I started doing a 40-day meditation, actually. And I am doing Adi Shakti. Which is cutting through, any kind of dis-ease or misbeliefs or misperceptions. And it's really been helping me. Yeah, I've
been hosting Removing Childhood Anger because there's a lot of that fear. And so I've been doing that for 40 days, and I have like a group of people that I've followed that are doing it. So it's a lot of going through the childhood anger, addiction meditation, so that we can overcome those addictions and those fear-based beliefs. Kriya, strengthen that lower triangle, and navigating through with fists of anger as well to clear that path and to allow whatever is kind of coming up to be healed and transmuted, so we can get back and get out of our own way. Because like I said, this year is massive, and there's so many opportunities. Like we're in week 3, and the things that are already coming through. I mean, it's a new decade too. And the last one was challenging. The last one with the shift to 2012, the last decade was really challenging.
Really hard. I know everybody felt it, and everybody's also feeling the same thing. I think you and I are, as this 2020 is this new opportunity. But it's so easy to fall back, and that's where doing that collective 40-day or gathering, making sure that we have the support when we can maybe fall back or we get hit with something, to make sure we get back up. It's going to be a lot of, I think it's going to be a lot of forward and back this year. And
that's the neutral mind. That's a 4-year. Yes. So this is what we're seeing. We're recognizing both sides of the coin. If we're going in that back, we're going back to heal something. And that's what we have to remember. Yeah. It's about us coming back home to ourselves, healing like the fragmented story or belief that's been conditioned and so like ingrained in the subconscious of the collective and ourselves. And so I think when you say, I totally feel you, that we have to stay the course and stay focused and to keep going, because this could be huge. I mean, election year, that's why I said, like, I'm interviewing congressional candidates, because I want to, then I know I'm doing what I can to make a difference.
Right. So awesome.
So this is how, if I have a platform, I've been doing this podcast for over 3 years now. If I have a platform, I need to use it.
Yeah, I agree. And I thank you for that.
Yes.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
we must do it in a big way.
Yes. I'm excited to see what also, like in this decade too, what inspires you with the foundation, if there are more,
Yeah.
organizations like working more so with the planet in terms of, yes, you're helping the children, but it's also like caring about
Well,
the planet in that sense,
I'm doing this incredible collaboration with this amazing Thai woman. Her name is Lek, and she has the elephant. She saves the elephants all over Asia, and the elephants are part of our ecosystem. Without the elephants, everything's going to start falling apart. And the abuse and the sadness of how many elephants we lose a year is so incredibly heartbreaking. But she literally is. So we're supporting her. We have a little necklace on our website, actually. It's a beautiful little double elephant, mommy and baby. And we're doing $50 on every piece goes to her foundation.
Amazing.
And she goes to colleges and schools and educates young children of the importance of no more circus elephants, even the places you go, in Thailand to ride elephants, like that, that don't support them. We need to really save these beautiful animals. Anyway, that's my
Yeah,
off
when I went
the
to
grid.
Thailand, I like was in a tour group thing and we went to that, and you could just I knew my intention there was to help heal. And I just
Yeah,
remember like I was on an elephant. I was like just starting my spiritual path,
yeah.
and we're on the elephant, and the guy who's like guiding the elephant, all of a sudden he opens up this box and he's got all this ivory trying to sell,
Yeah.
and I was
Oh,
just
yes.
so
So hard. Oh,
devastated.
beyond. It's such a big business. And I get to, we do some fundraisers with her here in New York. And I've sat with her, and it's just I can't even handle the abuse. Animals, just the
Yeah.
animals in the world. So I've done a couple of collaborations around animals. I love animals. I think they
Yes.
also are part of the ecosystem. And if we don't take care of them and protect them, that's a big part of how the world's going to really start falling apart.
Yeah, I love
Um,
how when all the fires are going on with Australia, how they had like a helicopter full of like carrots and stuff that they like dropped in the middle of the
yeah,
field so that all these hungry animals can eat. Like
animals
that's
can eat.
humanity in action.
Yeah, I know. I tell you, I can't even watch those
I
pictures.
know.
If something does, I just can't. Those little kangaroos.
I know. I'm being called to go to Australia after my Bali trip,
Oh, nice.
because to do work there and to I was called even before the fire started, but I've got so many of my like soul sisters that live there, and
Oh, cool.
I want to do like workshops and then be able to give a percentage back, to support this wildlife. Because again, this is conscious business, and I feel like this is how
Mhm.
the universe is going to reward, is because you have that intention and the ethos and the purity as to being of service. So
Totally.
I really thank you for all the work that you're doing and what your company stands behind. And there's just so much to be done that.
There is. And thank you back. Like we're in this together. And, I think it's collective consciousness, right? I can't do it alone. And, I think my customers, I love that people are inspired to buy the jewelry that's giving back. It's not helping me.
Mhm.
It's helping, the amazing people I'm working with and that I'd be able to connect with. So,
Yes. Well, I have a few little lightning round questions. You already answered one of mine with what does sovereignty mean to you, but what would you say, what animal totem has been really guiding you lately?
elephants.
Yes, I knew you were going to say that.
I think I
Well,
was an elephant in a past life. Since I was a little girl, I used to ask my dad, "Can I just get an elephant?"
I love
And
that.
he bought me the stuffed animals, and he bought me the little statues. But I'm like, that's not what I mean.
Yeah, my dog's favorite toy is Ellie the elephant, and it's like his OG favorite toy. So elephants are so powerful, such beautiful creatures. I love that. What book would you say was the book that really catapulted and revolutionized the way you show up in the world?
Oh, wow. Ooh, there's so many. I have such an archive. I'm going to say Thich Nhat Hanh. He's a Tibetan Buddhist, and I can't pick one particular
Hmm.
book, But because he has them on everything, on anger, on love, on running business, on power. And I would say go to the section of Thich Nhat Hanh's book and see what you're drawn to, what word pops out, and that's the one you need to read.
I love that. What would you say to younger Satya before she really stepped into the name Satya?
Oh my God. Get ready for the ride, girl. it ain't gonna be easy.
I love that.
But it's the ebbs and flows. It's that duality of life, being able to. It's that neutral, staying neutral. I remember my first day of Kundalini teacher training, and this stood out. I don't know if it was Gurmukh or Krishna, but they said, when you've mastered being a yogi is when you can stay neutral through no matter what is in front of you. When your mind goes neutral, no judgment, and of course, my first reaction is always like, but then I'm able to bring it down. And if you can keep doing that and train your mind to go, ooh, this really is not so comfortable. This kind of sucks, but there's a lesson in it. How can I learn from it? And there's a bigger reason I have to go through this one. Bring it on, and here we go.
I love that.
Yeah.
And what would be one little nugget of advice to someone who's starting a business?
So many good ones. Get clear on what you're going to own. What's yours and nobody else has. There's so many entrepreneurs. This is the year of the entrepreneur, right? I think so many people are tapped. Find something that you can feel really powerful and strong and say, this is something I'm going to own. This is my idea, and I'm not going to waver from it. So try and stay strong in that, and get really clear. And I think that really helps, because you'll get so distracted. So many things you get pulled into when you're starting your own business. And to just get really clear as to what you would like to see happen in this amazing new career of yours or business. And then don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't think you have to have every single business plan point down. Forget the business plan. I didn't have a business plan. I didn't even have any jewelry experience, but just with another company I worked with for a couple of years. Be the fearless warrior. Be the fearless goddess. Trust your intuition.
AKA she's saying start.
Start. Just do it. Just do it. I know. Somebody took that line. I like, just start. Yeah.
I love that.
There's a few ideas. But.
And where can we support the mission that you're doing and learn more about the foundation and all the things?
Sure. So satyajewelry.com, and then there's Satya World under that. So you can go and see. I teach workshops as well. I teach the sacred art of mala making, and go on a whole little journey of setting powerful intentions with stones and all that. But we also, all the foundations that we're supporting and the jewelry that we've designed last year, and we're moving forward. We have a couple of really good ones coming up as well. So if you're interested in buying a beautiful piece of jewelry that massively gives back, just go under collaborations and you'll see them.
Amazing.
Really great organizations, yeah.
And what little other nugget of wisdom would you want to share just to close it out?
Live your truth. Live your truth. Shut up that internal dialogue that is not serving you right now. Let's do this thing.
Amazing.
Together.
Yes, we're in this together. Satya, thank you so much. Happy early solar return, and for coming on your day off to share your medicine in this conversation. And everyone, go check it out. If you were so inspired by this episode and this conversation, support Satya Jewelry, because they're doing great things in the world. And this is what it takes for us to really revolutionize the world and cultivate a conscious tomorrow today. So thanks again for tuning in. And thank you again, Satya. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Sat Nam.
Sat Nam.
Bye-bye.